Listen to the LARP Lounge live on Sundays at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time at twitch.tv/Arrustar. That's twitch.tv/ARRUSTAR.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Season 2 of the LARP Lounge. Woo! Good to be back. I'm excited. Today we have Krowthus Quince with us, and he is going to be talking about Artificing as well as a few other things today. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. Let's go ahead and real quick, let's do all these alerts real quick. And I'm not going to sing every time, just one time. Okay, the bit boss did take damage. Okay.
Not taking a whole ton of damage, Phil. Oh, I guess they're just following us, though.
Yeah, they're not a whole lot of damage. Lone Star. Okay, I have to make an announcement. I'm watching on my Roku, which is consistently about a minute behind a phone or PC. So any comments I make in chat are going to be slightly behind. Sorry, no problem. Any chats are welcome regardless. So.
Oh yeah, and I've actually noticed that as well. Like we have a TV that has like the built-in Roku stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they use their own weird Twitch app. It's not the actual Twitch app that you're logging into. It's like some Twitch viewer app or something like that, specifically available through the Roku. And I think that's why it's got a little bit longer of a delay.
Oh, okay. All right, well, real quick, since we got all those new follows, I appreciate everybody for following. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Hi, neighbor. That's it. But I am thinking of rebranding everything. Like, I was doing something where, like, they're shooting up or something, like, welcome to the...
Did you get rid of Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, I might.
Blasphemy.
I don't know. There's so many viewers that don't even get the reference, so...
Yeah.
It's, you know, so... all right, so let's jump into it here real quick. Let's see. It should be annoying that it's all delayed like that. Oh, well. It's annoying, but...
We do what we need to.
Yeah, we do what we need to, so... So let's start off real quick. You just recently received a position.
Are you going to introduce him?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I did. Yeah, it's Krowthus Quince. Krow.
Sorry.
Everyone calls him Krow. Former sheriff of Northwatch. So he just recently, as not as his character, but as his individual person, has received a, I guess, kind of a promotion. I don't know what you want to call it, but he's received a position.
A staff position.
A staff position. So if you want to go ahead and talk about that real quick.
So just recently, both myself and one other person were named as the new player emissaries. So player emissaries are the kind of go-between, I guess we'll say, between the player base and everything else going on in Mythic. So whether it's rules related or plot related, character creation related, anything of that nature, that's what the player emissaries do. They specifically connect with the player base to make sure that problems aren't occurring or problems that are already existent get resolved.
Cool. Yeah, we talked about that a little bit in one of our episodes during season 1, where we talked about, you know, the rules and the responsibilities and whatnot that the player emissary goes over. I just wanted people to know that this is one of the new ones for anyone that's interested in coming. Did you have anything that you wanted to say to anybody that's interested in Mythic Realms? Like, if they come to you or any questions or...
Yeah, so we've had several people already, but if you're interested, if you're not quite sure what to do in this LARP thing, if you're new to LARP, or even if you're from a different LARP, but you kind of want to come see what we've got going on, I would say approach us, either myself or the other person, as the player emissaries, to get a feel for how our rules work, how you might be able to integrate kind of your previous characters from other LARPs, or if you have an older character from Mythic, we can kind of pull that back in and get that character revived a little bit, as it were. I specifically am looking to resolve some kind of known issues that we've had. You know, anytime that you get a gathering, a big group of people, there are going to be people that have issues either with other people or with the system or the game that you're playing or anything like that. You get 30 to 60 people all playing one game. Somebody's not going to like how it is. And so it's kind of my goal over the course of especially this year to resolve all those things, so kind of some of the compounded frustrations from the past are alleviated. So, and if you do have any of those questions or anything like that, but you don't want to like come and go to an event first, you can always email mythicquestions@gmail.com, and those come to the player emissaries, and we can answer those questions and everything like that even before you come and join.
No, not that. The mythicquestions@gmail.com, the email address.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So real quick, Lone Star says Mr. Rogers must not be forgotten. And then Amy Chibi says, has there ever been a person playing a major antagonist / villain? First off, I think you've been here before, Amy Chibi, so I want to say welcome back. Thanks for coming back. As far as playing an antagonist or villain, we did have the first thing that comes to mind is the Gyarados. They weren't necessarily villains, but they were antagonists for sure. They definitely got a lot of stuff done, but they got a lot of ire drawn towards them. If you're interested about them at all, the season finale of season 1 was the Gyarados, so you can kind of hear some of their goings on, some of the mischief that they got up to, and the different things that they did, and they knew what they were doing for sure. So,
well, it's really kind of funny. Like, I think they even mentioned it in their thing and everything. They brought the group of people in not expecting the town, the other players, to put up with it.
Yeah.
So they fully expected to be there a few weeks, maybe a couple of months before they were either killed or driven out of town. And they were just such a force to be reckoned with, and actually, got stuff done, that people just let them get away with the things that they were doing. We have had a couple of players that I would say have been the villain. Like, they've come in with that kind of villain archetype, and they've wanted to be the bad guy. The problem is, anytime you want to play that, and it's fully encouraged, like, if that's something you want to do, absolutely. Let's just be aware that if that is something you're going to be doing, you want to be intelligent about it. Because I think everybody so far who has come in as that villain has been dealt with one way or another, either chased out of town or just killed or something of that nature. They've been discovered quickly because it was poorly handled. So.
Another one that happened, like, he wasn't necessarily a villain to begin with, but due to events at the last Winterfest, he'd certainly ended up as a villain. That would be Leaf. He is now a demon of the Dream Realm. So, and demons are frowned upon. So
frowned upon.
Yeah, very. That's putting it lightly. But so yeah, that's another instance where his retirement ended up making him a villain, and there have been discussions about what to do about him, whether to leave him there or if we want to go after him, or if certain things have happened in game, and a few people thought, well, maybe that's him. We actually had an event where some people were getting killed by dream gargoyles, and they ended up waking up in the dream realm with his character kind of running them down, and they got free. But so he's, I find that kind of interesting that they didn't just leave it. They didn't just say, okay, he's retired as a demon, voila, you're done. They're starting to integrate it into some of what's going on, and then that was one thing I thought was really interesting. So
yeah, there's a lot of characters who have a meaningful impact on the story are not just kind of left to the wayside. Like there are always things that happen in the background, you know, with Leaf and with the Garadetskis, you know, as we've said before, with several other retired characters. I mean, even like King Gil, you know, is now one of the largest, most influential people as an NPC in game.
But he started off,
but was just a PC. It was just a player.
Yep.
To begin with.
Yep.
So
that's true.
So same thing with Queen Natasha.
Yep.
So King Gil, Queen Natasha, all that, they were all PCs. They were all player-driven characters that got to the point where on their retirement they just became very important.
Important and influential for sure. So, speaking of Winterfest, since I did mention that, they have announced the Winterfest for this year. So, Lone Star, you might want to pay attention to this specifically because I know you're interested, maybe making this your debut for your character. This is the forum that talks about the Winterfest and when it will be, and if you have any questions or anything like that. We don't have a venue yet. There are discussions going on about that, so we will see. But Winterfest will be taking place February 28th and the 29th. Yep. They usually go really late on the 28th and then break up and then start really early on the 29th. So
there will probably be a lot of people who don't go to sleep that night. So it's in the normal scheme of everything, we kind of have our half-day events, our full-day events, and our weekend events. This is a very rare occasion where we call it an overnighter event, where it starts the one day, goes overnight to the next day, and where they do have kind of a schedule of, you know, hey, we're going to start at this time, we're going to go to, you know, this time, which I think is like 2 a.m. or something like that as far as plot-driven things, and then we're going to clean up everything like that, and then everybody needs to be back by this time the next morning. There's a lot of people who will just stay up the whole night and turn it into a full overnighter where it's just role playing and stuff happens constantly all night long until the next morning.
I remember last year we didn't make it to the following day.
Everybody was just so beat. That was so hard.
It was very difficult, so we definitely didn't make it for that. So, but yeah, if you have any questions about the Winterfest or are interested about Mythic Realms, like I said, you can ask him any questions at mythicquestions@gmail.com. You can always ask questions now on the stream. That's what we're here for, you know, to answer any questions you have about LARP or Mythic Realms specifically. Or if you have questions about the Winterfest, you can ask them in that forum, and they're there to help answer any of them for you. So that would be a great opportunity to introduce characters. There's a lot of new people that do show up for Winterfest. We get a lot of people from other LARPs that show up for just that event. So it's a pretty big. It's like our premier event for sure. So
and that's one of the reasons that we're still in the midst of searching for a venue and everything like that, is just because finding a place that we can seat that many people all for, you know, because of course Winterfest being a big celebration and everything has a dinner portion as well where everybody sits down and eats and everything. So finding a venue where we can set up enough tables and chairs and room, just space to walk around and everything for that many people is quite difficult. So, and then of course we need a place where if we have that many people and say a scuffle breaks out or a fight or something like that, we're not going to damage anything. So like, unfortunately, a lot of standard reception centers and stuff like that aren't going to work, because the last thing we want to do is have everybody in there with their gear and, you know, weapons and everything like that, and have one person swing their sword and hit a chandelier or knock over a nice, you know, ornate lamp or something like that. You know, we of course don't want anything like that to happen. So yeah, it's fun.
Has there been any talk about going back to the venue from last year, or?
I think they have been in talks with them, but I honestly don't know. Like that's being taken care of by people over me.
I just liked how roomy it was when we were eating. Like we didn't feel crowded, so that was one of the biggest things. So like the dining portion was. Oh, and it's not all dining either. Like I shouldn't call it the dining portion. It's the role play portion, because there's a lot of role play going on.
The dinner portion.
There's a lot of role play going on. Like for instance, we had an individual who showed up and was accusing people that they had mugged him outside of town, which was a little fun thing that we had to deal with as sheriff and deputy. So we had to deal with it. It was quite fun. Just He picked the worst people to accuse.
Yep.
Like, so just fun things like that happen during the role play section. So, but yeah, I think that's about it on those. So if you have any other questions, just go ahead and feel free to ask or post them in that forum and they'll answer them for you. So now what we've got all that out of the way, we're going to take a deep dive into artificing. Now that we've gotten, so last season we talked about all the basic skills. Artificing deals with a lot of the crafting skills, like weaponsmithing, armor smithing. What are some of the other ones?
Let's see. We've got alchemy, armor, scrolls, runes. What else we got? We got weapons. I brought my list. That's why. Who wants to open here? Yeah, so we've got alchemy, armor, medicine, runes, scrolls, tinkering. That's what I forgot. And weapons.
Okay. So we're going to go over kind of what each of those is individually real quick. So what was the first one you had on there?
So alchemical.
Okay.
So that's going to be your standard set of alchemy things for your regular crafting. You're going to be your potions and poisons. In artificing, it's going to be your elixirs. Now, the big thing about artificing specifically is regardless of the artifice talent, there is going to be a main implement and then augments. Augments are a certain number of other skills that you can put into an implement that make them even stronger. So, and it just kind of depends on how powerful you make the implement for how many augments it can then take or receive. So with alchemy, you're going to have your elixirs. These are going to be little potion bottles and everything like that you take a drink of before each logistics or before a fight, depending on what the specific elixir does, and is meant to kind of augment utility skills a lot. So it's the big thing about the alchemical stuff is augmenting a lot of utilities. So if you want to have your trips or your certain utility spells and stuff like that do other abilities, an elixir is going to be what does that for you, as well as things like increasing your life, how many hit points total you have and things like that. The representative, I unfortunately don't have one because they vary so much. A alchemical fizz rep can be literally any bottle. So you don't have to physically take a drink out of it. You have to go through the mimicking motions of it and everything like that. So even if you just had like a little bottle full of some water and some food coloring, you don't have to drink it. That just kind of represents your elixir that you keep. So before we kind of dive into what a lot of the things can do specifically or any questions that come up or anything like that, it should be noted that in Mythic specifically, all artifice items are, one, not considered magic. So they are not magical items, even though they may replicate or duplicate magical things. They are not magical items in their own. And two, all artifice things have an expiration date. So standard expiration date is going to be 6 months, like even the standard crafted things, but everything is going to have an expiration date of 6 months, maybe longer, maybe less. So when you get an artifice item, you need to make sure you keep track of what the expiration date is and everything like that, because especially in the case of like weapons or armor and stuff, that can drastically change your character from one game to another, even after the course of like a month if it expires. So you really need to pay attention to those. I know we've had a couple of times where artifice things have come in, people don't pay attention to the expiration date, and even a month or two after they've expired, they're still using the item, and of course that causes logistical rules problems in game. So
Yeah, real quick, let's go. So Nevitz showed up and he uses bacon.
Oh, Nevitz.
Lone Star says, I dig this new camera angle, and Nevitz says, can't see the shield though. That's true. We could just lower the shield. We put it a little too high, so that was probably part of the problem there. My producer Shay says, right now, thanks. I'm kind of rethinking it right now. I'll find the perfect setting soon, I promise. Lone Star says, oh yeah, excited to see that change. And then here's Mechardome. Look, it's back. That's Zisto.
Yep.
So, real quick though, Nevitz with his bacon reminded me that yesterday he decided to try some bacon soda.
Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry.
So how did I know how that went, but would you like to tell chat, Nevitz, how that went for you?
Ooh. No, see, I've had the bacon soda before. Ooh.
That's
no, you know, it wouldn't be so bad if the bacon soda actually tasted like bacon. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, it does not. It's like somebody tried to synthetically duplicate the taste of bacon without ever having actually tasted bacon, and just decided, well, this is a soda now.
It was yeah. I don't even know why he I don't know. So all right. Yeah, he tagged me, and all of my response was why. So.
Oh yeah, no, it's just why bacon soda is a thing. I don't know, and more power to you if you actually enjoy it.
There's some worse ones.
We can't be
out
friends.
There. There's some worse ones out there. There's like a ranch soda. I don't know if you've ever seen that. There's a mustard soda. Like, I only know because my wife likes to watch YouTube videos of people like drinking
trying just trying them out. Things.
Are you going to congratulate Nevitz on his other thing too?
That's up to him if he wants to announce it or not. True. So I don't want to steal his thunder. So, yeah, it was the face I think I made when he said, yeah, that face right there is what she says. So, not good, but not terrible, surprisingly, yeah. So.
Oof.
That's more than most people. Most people have called it terrible. Yep. So
I would go as far as saying that bacon soda, any of the bacon sodas I've ever had, I think I've tried, well, maybe 2 or 3 different brand, different makes of it. Yeah. And oof, yeah, no, that is.
I can't believe you tried different ones after the first one.
No. It's you kind of go off the philosophy of try everything twice because the first time it may have not been good. So, you know, you drink it and you're kind of like, whoa, okay, maybe this is off. Maybe it's expired. Like, this is not good. So you try another one and you're like, nope, this is just as bad. And then somebody comes up and they're like, look, I got this bacon soda. And you're like, really?
I tried one and it will be the first and last. Yeah.
Well, speaking from experience, you're not missing out.
All right, so we went over alchemy. What was next? So then we've got armor smithy.
Yep. So with armor, of course, your standard crafting of armor things are going to be kind of like little buffs. You know, give your armor a few more hit points, or even like a fortification buff. You know, kind of resist a death blow. Getting into armor artificing, it dramatically changes the way that your character enters combat, including things like. I mean, the standard kind of additional hit points, but then it'll get into modifying, say, the way your hunker down works. It'll make it so at really higher level or more impressive things to where if you take a blow that would normally kill you, like a forced slay, a dire eviscerate, something of that nature, you call your I think it's reduced, and instead suffer a trip, and that's a trip for 5 minutes, during which you can still fight and everything like normal. It's as if you were tripped, but if you get to the end of the 5 minutes of the trip, you immediately fall into your death count, and you can't be brought out of the trip except for something that would raise you out of your death count as well, so a force restore or anything like that. But it kind of gives you that extra few moments, extra few minutes of continuing to fight. Or if you have an ability yourself, like with Krow did, have the ability to, say, force restore yourself, you can do that. You can get the trip, continue fighting, force restore yourself, because you know what's happening, and then just immediately get back up. So yeah, as the armor artificing is probably what I would consider the easiest way to augment your character so that you have pure survival potential. So, and it's what's really cool about the armor augments is they can be put into any implement that acts as armor. That includes a suit of armor, as long as you have the right kind, mage bracers, or even a shield. So it's all of your guard stones, which are what the armor augments are called, can be put into even like a shield. And it can be really cool because some of the ones that you can put into a shield is like, if your shield is, 3 times per day, if your shield is struck with a shield cripple ability, you get a free use of parry against it. So it's basically just 3 resist shield cripples per day.
Yeah, I've thought about that one actually. So,
oh yeah, it's first time.
So Mechanism says semi-lurking, working today, no problem. I appreciate you being here, even with the lurk. And the Blackberry says, "This is the first time I've seen you actually wear your fur tunic. It looks good."
So Blackberry would be the one that made this.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, nice. Yeah, It looks good. I like it.
It's been really good. There was a zipper mishap a little while ago because it was leaned on.
Oh.
And so the zipper kind of pulled out, but it just needed to be restitched and done. And Blackberry did that. And it has worked wonderfully.
Nice. So just to give people an idea of a few more things that armor can do, like for example, mine, I finally have magical armor. It gives me 3 extra hit points. I have Shadow's Journeyman on it, which lets me, so when someone swings at me for like pass or drain, I can actually activate that so that they don't. So pass is something which we talked about last season. Woohoo! Subscriber dance. Yeah, thank you, Devins. Pass is something that usually bypasses your armor damage ceiling. So for me, I have a damage ceiling of 5. I don't want to go into too much, but like, so if someone swings for pass and they're swinging for 10, I take full 10 damage. So that's kind of scary for someone like me. But if I have my shadows on, then I still have my damage ceiling of 5 against that, which is super handy.
Well, in the Journeyman, that acts as 3 times per day a shadow polish, right?
Yep.
So 3 times a day you call shadows or whatever it is, and you get 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Where it's then your damage ceiling is applied to pass, siphon, and drain.
Oh, same. Megadom, subscribe. Oh, yeah. Oh, it looks really weird from up above. I don't like the view necessarily, but...
Oh, don't do that again.
So, thank you for the subscribes, though, guys. I appreciate that a lot. So, and then another thing that my armor does is if someone hits me with a death blow, I have fortitude, so it's reduced.
Oh yeah. Just once per day.
Yep.
Fortitude. Yep. So I think one thing that gets kind of overlooked in the armor artificing things that is actually really helpful. It's a little bit expensive, but is actually really helpful. Is a gladiator helmet. And a gladiator helmet, once it's finished and you wear the helmet, it does have to be done onto a physical helmet. And if you wear the helmet, you get an additional hit point added on to literally everything. So it's +1 completely stackable with everything else hit point. And a lot of people will look at it and think, oh, well, it's only 1 hit point and it's fairly expensive to make. Why would I want this? It's there for those who have kind of hit right towards their damage ceiling cap to put them over by that 1 point. So let's say if you have a damage ceiling of 5, like you do, and 25 hit points. After 5 hits, you go down. You add that 1 extra hit point on, you take those 5 hits, you still have 1 hit point left. You're still up and fighting, which could be the difference of calling that self-grant well-being or drinking a potion, reading a scroll, any of those types of things to kind of get yourself back, or even like a vigor. You know, it's that 1 hit point could be the difference of being able to take that step back and call your vigor to get all your hit points back. So I think it kind of it gets a lot of grief because of how expensive it is to make. but it is for that specific situation, like in your case, where if you're right at that cusp of 5 hits knocks me down or 5 hits doesn't knock me down, it's a wonderful addition because it can be added to any suit of armor, including your suit of armor, which is already magical. You can add it to your armor and still get all the bonuses.
Yeah.
So,
1 hit point is a lot. Like,
it's with damage ceilings and with the way that damage is done, specifically in Mythic. I mean, this is a Mythic specific thing. With the way that hit points are done, with the way that damage ceilings are done, and damage is done. 1 hit point can actually make a ton of difference. Yeah. See, as Boji's saying, like he got one. Yeah, I found mine wonderfully useful several times because it's that was the thing that broke me over the cap of 30. And like in a situation where you have a DC 5, that's the difference between either 6 hits or 7 hits, and a lot of stuff can happen between swings. So. I got a +1 on my shield also. So +1 hit points. Yeah. So that's actually fairly rare. Yeah. Because a lot of times the hit points that will be put on armor is what's considered a gear bonus. Yeah. And then from augments will be considered a power bonus. Yep. So they will stack. And a lot of times, if you get a shield that has hit points on it, it'll be considered a gear bonus as well, which doesn't stack with armor. Yeah. So if you've got your shield has +1 power bonus, that's actually pretty rare. Yeah, I got a party treasure, and I immediately went up to who is it that does them now? Why am I drawing a blank? Armor is from Banner? Banner, yeah. I went to Banner. I'm like, yo, I need you to install this. He's like, wow, you got one? Yep. So he was super impressed with it. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I said, they're quite rare, and to have them made, I think they're actually an elusive to have them made. Yeah. So I was lucky to get that one for sure. So is the one on the helmet considered a power bonus too? It's stackable. So it's stackable regardless of what it's called. Yeah, so that's the big thing. That's one of the reasons why the Gladiator helmet is so expensive, is because it's fully stackable with everything, which includes your vitalities, your magic armor, your magic shield, everything. It'll literally stack with everything. He's thinking. That's with the shield though? Yeah, the shield. Thinking with shield. Or he's pointing at the shield, just saying that it's awesome. I don't know, one of the two, but now it's a shrunken shield. What are you doing? He's messing. He has points, and with points you can mess with the with the channel icon. So whatever they're called, emotes. Yeah, he messes with my emote. So well, all right, you have fun. So all right, so that was armor smithing. What's after that one? So after that one, we have medical artificing. Medical artificing is often completely overlooked. I think it's because a lot of people don't go into it. It doesn't get a lot of marketing, I guess you could say, as far as like weapons and armor and stuff like that. People use those every day. Medical creates in artificing your flesh wards. So flesh wards and bloodstones. So you're capable of having any implement made for you as an artifice item as long as it does not have magical or artifice properties already. So that's one of the big things that like a lot of people when they take into consideration of getting something made for them is they usually need to supply their own phys rep. So I've got kind of a couple examples here that I'll show for the different things. Your flesh wards are going to be any kind of leathery or flesh or bone or anything of that. I've even seen people use like small vials of red liquid of blood to indicate that it is a medical like flesh ward type thing. But anything like that, I mean, any of your little pieces of leather or anything like that, or fur, anything that kind of represents flesh or bone or anything like that. My tooth right here counts, and I actually had it recently. Finally got my I think it's a troll regeneration one that I got installed on there, which is super handy. Yep. So Gaming Mama says hey, and then Miss Cheyenne, woo, another subscription, yeah, I get subscriptions going like crazy. It is the day of.
Ooh, Mechadum was Bit Boss, but he's not going to last very long at this rate.
Oh, Mechadum, you better get in there. Oh, but he's working. Uh-oh. Probably doesn't even notice.
Nope. He might not notice. Oh, well. So, how you doing, Gaming Mama? Thanks for being here.
The biggest thing about the Flesh Wards or their augments Bloodstones is to augment, again, utility abilities specifically for survival or regeneration. Mm-hmm. So where you can get like the Troll's Blood, you can get augments for strength. You know, if you want to get like your I think it's just Ogre Strength is what it's called. You get your permanent, +2 bonus to strength and stuff like that.
I'm trying to remember what mine is. I think mine's regeneration, and that's the one I want to get. I think mine's do they do hunker down and stuff like that?
Yes.
Or I think mine's a hunker down one.
Okay. So yeah, there's the hunker down ones. The one that's really good is the what is it? I think I forget what their guys. I want to say it's the Bloody Well-Being one, but I think that one's in Runic. But anyway, there's one that makes it so if you're in your bleed count and you're hit with a first aid, you can call Empowered once per day. You can call Empowered and get a Grant Well-Being instead.
Wow.
So yeah, so really cool. The Flesh Wards and the Bloodstones are all about healing, either self-healing or healing others or anything like that. And the big one is regeneration, like Troll's regeneration. 3 times per day, regenerate on a 10 count.
Yeah, that's huge. I want that,
huge.
But there's no one in town, so I don't know how I'm gonna get it. So I might have to buy it from the CMA or something like that. So.
So that's one of the big things. So you can't actually purchase Artifice items from the CMA. So the CMA, I think, was talked about briefly. It's kind of the in-game Citadel Merchants Alliance is what it's called. It's like the big main city merchants guild. And you can go there for a lot of things. You can buy components, you can buy consumables, you can buy all of your list of generic crafting things. When it comes to artificing, you can't buy artifice items from the CMA. The only thing that you can buy from them is the schemas or the diagrams that you can give to somebody who has the skill. So like a medicine artificing, if they have a medicine artificing skill, you can go buy the, say, Troll's Blood schema from the CMA and give that to the person to then make. But not only do you have to then pay the CMA, but then you have to pay for all the components and everything that is required to make that item. So you'd still have to find somebody in town or an NPC who is capable of doing so. So, yeah, that's kind of that's one of the big things with the artificing is you can buy everything you need to have it made from the CMA, but you can't buy a made item from the CMA.
So Lone Star just donated 75 bits and became the Bit Boss again. Makes my triumphant return, he says. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, okay. So that's that. And then what's the next one?
So the next one we get into is Runic Artificing. So Runic Artificing is kind of an interesting one. On your normal regular rune crafting and everything, you have your runes, which are just kind of your standard paper runes, which you prime, you get a one-time use ability, tear the rune up, you're done. With Runic Artificing, you get your focuses. So, and they can be like, a wand or even like little jar of crystals or something like that. Like Krow, for his spell focus, has a small red crystal that I had a character create for me and does a bunch of really cool things. The big thing with Runic Artificing is modifying spells. So if you are a spellcaster, the first person you want to look for is a Runic Artificer, because they will make you capable of doing incredible things at the higher levels, even going as far as changing your daily use abilities to something even bigger. So, it's where you get your daily use abilities of elemental casting, and then as soon as you get so far down the elemental casting, you can do like your fire bursts and stuff like that with your runic artificing, your kind of higher level runic artificing, it'll make it so you can spend any like battle spell that you might have and get a fire burst instead. But it's also an empowered fire burst, so instead of just doing your fire burst burn you 5, you get a fire burst burn you 15. So lots of really cool things for spells. Big things for spells are going to modify your force abilities, like it'll make it so your Holocaust goes from 100 points of damage to like 130 points of damage, which again doesn't seem like a lot, but in the course of talking about how 1 hit point can make the difference, 30 extra points of damage can be the difference of killing a creature or not. So yeah, it's great spell augmentation. So
David says, have Jovi post on the in-game boards what he's looking for. A merchant or NPC friend might notice the in-game post and help you find what you're looking for. That's good. I never thought of that.
Yeah. So that's actually the primary way that artificing was kind of done before players started being able to do artificing. One of the big ways is you'd have to post on the boards, and then somebody from Citadel or somebody, a merchant from the outlying, towns or anything like that would see it and specifically pay you a visit. It's still perfectly a viable way to get things done. A lot of people just kind of prefer to keep their money in town. Mm-hmm. And because of the way things have gone, which we could blame on one specific character who is now retired, a lot of townspeople will sell artifice things cheaper to other townspeople than, say, a merchant will. So the problem that you're going to run into is if you ask an NPC to come in and do it for you, they're going to do it for you at full merchant cost. Yeah. Which at something like that, for like your 3 times per day, troll blood journeyman thing, could cost you as high as 4 or 5 gold. Where if somebody in town was doing it for you, they'd say, oh, okay, it's going to cost you a gold plus whatever components there are.
Yeah, I've been noticing that.
So that's kind of one of the big things about getting an item crafted for you is if you are going to go outside the town, expect to pay for it. Even if you are in town, there is expense expected. So just be prepared.
Okay.
All right. So after Runic, we have Scroll Artifice. So now Scroll Artifice is kind of the same way as your standard scroll. So of course, with your scroll making, your standard craft is going to make scrolls, and it's the whole gambit of scrolls from cure you scrolls to drain scrolls, your necromantic scrolls, to useful ones like grant parry, grant dodge, grant well-being, stuff like that. As you get into the artifice, you will make spell pages, and you actually get access to a couple of very high level scrolls or consumables within artificing itself. Big thing, of course, about your spell book is going to be augmenting spells, but it's going to be much more powerful. Like your spells do more damage, or you get to cast more spells per day, or things of that nature, going up to having a spell book that actually grants you the ability to get just a use of Force Arcane or Force Mystic. Just get an additional one per day. So it can be very handy even for somebody who isn't a spellcaster, because I guess I should have prefaced, all artifice items require that you be trained in that specific type before you're able to use it. So if you're trying to use armor, artificed armor, you either have to have the armor smithing craft yourself or diversified training in armor to be able to use it. If you don't, the item has to be user-friendly. Mm-hmm. And user-friendly is a perk. I'm going to get into all the different enhancements and perks and stuff afterwards. But the user-friendly is going to be a perk that makes it so you don't specifically require to have that to use the item. So with like a spell book, it could help you very well because you're not a caster by nature. If you got, say, a user-friendly spell book that gave you the ability to do Force Mystic once per day, that's going to give you the ability to do a Force Restore or like a Force Heroism just once per day just for carrying this little book on you. So it can help you greatly, especially like kind of what your character does, what your character's all about and everything.
There's been a bidding war going on, and they're talking about a baby now, and so we didn't scroll up. So let's see. So after Nevitz posted about Jovi posting in the thing, Cheyenne cheered 50 and said, she said she's coming for you, Lone Star, and Lone Star said, bring it on. Then he says, I don't have as much money to put towards bits now as I did last season. What with the new baby, I think I donated like $2,500 last season. That's totally fine. I understand, especially with the baby, Lone Star. You don't have to donate ever, but I appreciate it. And then Gamey Mama comes in with the big 200 bits, becoming the first place bidder for the month. And then Shay says, yeah, I have 50 free from 7-Eleven for buying monsters. That's cool. I didn't know you could do that. And then she says, and then I asked.
Still me.
The producer asked, how's the baby? And Lone Star said it's growing. Storm Dragon comes in with 1 bit. And then Nevitz says, just wait until baby gets bacon-eating teeth. Start him young. And then Lone Star says he eats bacon through mom's milk now. And he also subscribed for 3 months. They have subscribed for 3 months total. So, and he says, yeah, because he just healed himself back up after all that damage. So
right.
We gotta get some dancing in for the bits and for all the subscriptions. Oh yeah. I appreciate it, guys. I even made some shaking sounds that time too. Make my own music.
It's like a tambourine.
Yeah. So I just recently got a spellbook thing.
Oh, see, there you go. See, it just validates what I said.
I don't even remember what it does, though. I need to find out. I think it lets me... I think I can get rid of a lay on hands for something. It lets me do something else if I don't use a lay on hands.
Oh, you do like a... Get rid of your lay on hands for like a Font of Life?
I don't think it's that cool. I mean, I can always go grab it.
There is, well, but yeah. I think there is one that lets you do something like that, where it basically lets you trade out like the level 5 ability of one thing for the level 5 ability of another thing. Yeah. That's going to be a big thing with scrolls and with the spell books themselves, is kind of trading those skills around and out and everything like that. So yeah, it's the, instead of having a lay on hands, you get a Font of Life, which is 5 minutes of heal you 4, just cast a heal you 4 just again and again and again, which again can be very useful depending on the situation. So let's see, after that, I think after scroll is tinkering. Yeah, so after scroll is tinkering. Now tinkering is kind of odd and different in the world of Mythic, and kind of generally with how all the other Artifice things, to me at least, it seems displaced, but appropriately displaced. A lot of the Fizz reps that represent tinkering things are going to be kind of your clockwork, more steampunkish type thing. So I kind of brought like, this here is a monocle with some like gear shapes and stuff on it. But it can be something as simple as like a little pocket watch, or just a gear, or something of that nature. The Tinker twists are really, really good whenever you need to conceal, find, or bind somebody, is kind of how I relate tinkering. And the specific abilities that it has is you can do like a tinkering pouch that adds 6 levels to your level of conceal whenever concealing anything on yourself. And of course you have all the things like your anti-magic manacles are in the tinkering Artifice stuff, which makes so if you put manacles on somebody there and activate them, they have once per day activation use of, you put them on, you activate, and as long as they're wearing the manacles, they can't cast magic at all. So the tinkering stuff, some of the things of tinkering can get really, really involved. So you really kind of have to watch the wording of tinkering items, because they will not only augment an ability, but they will prevent you from using the first ability at all. So it'll be one of those things where it's like, instead of using this ability, you can now do this. And if you attune that tinkering item to yourself at the logistics or through the course of an event, you can actually hurt or stifle your character by removing your ability to do what you thought you were going to be doing because you attuned a tinkering item.
Yeah.
So do be careful when playing with the tinkering items, the actual tinker twists themselves. Just make sure you pay attention to what they say, because where they will do really, really cool things, be aware of anything that they might remove from you to give you that extra ability. So, as well as with those, you get into the higher level bombs with tinkering as well, which are really, really cool. There's a lot of mass bombs that you get with tinkering, where you can get like a mass daze bomb, which is throwing 10 packets all at once.
Wow.
For a bomb rather than a single packet or a targeted thing. It's literally, you just throw this big massive bomb with 10 packets in your hand and scatter it across an area. Anybody hit takes the effect. So lastly, for Artificing, we have weapons. And of course, weapons are going to be kind of the biggest noticeable thing next to armor when it comes to changing how your character fights. If you play any kind of martial class at all, you're probably going to seek out a weapon artificer simply to just do more damage, do other types of damage. That's going to be the big thing with weapon artificing, is it changes how your weapon behaves. So now, like with all the artificing things, if you've already got a magic weapon, if we found in party treasure or something like that, +1 magic weapon or something like that, you can't really do a whole lot with it unless it has augment slots. Then I'll get into all the augment slots and everything after we talk about these. But of course, with weapons, it's going to be changing how much damage you do, the types of damage you do, or it's going to augment your damaging abilities to do other things, either more or less, based on kind of what you need to do. Kind of the big ones that I always like to recommend to people is either the twin hand enchantment, or the the third hand, I think it's called. Twin hand is the much cheaper version, and it makes it so anytime you do a force twin strike, which is your two strikes of force 30, instead you get 5 swings of force 10. And then, of course, on the way expensive side, you have your third hand, which is anytime you do the twin strike, you get a third swing of it. So, and it's just, so anytime you do your twin strike, it's force 30. You have a third hand weapon, you get an additional force 30. Wow. And that can just be ridiculous. One of the things, especially for Mythic, because of the types of creatures and modules, events that we run, especially lately, Righteous Twin is probably the most requested one, because it's extremely inexpensive and makes it so when you do your twin strike, you get 2 swings of force 50 cleanse.
Wow.
And so any of your demons or your undead or anything like that just get obliterated by it. Mm-hmm. So,
is there a way to extend the duration of a created weapon, or?
Very rare. So there are some magic items that have come into game, or some specific event type things that have come into game, where you expend this item on another item and it gains 3 additional months, or gains 3 additional or 6 additional months to its duration. Those are exceptionally rare, but they do exist out there. I would recommend to anybody, if you're getting an item created for you, especially something you're going to use long term, say your armor or your weapons, or like a flesh ward, if you want like the troll regeneration, ask the crafter to double the coin cost of the production to make it a year duration. So there are a couple of things that can extend the duration just out of the gate. By default, everything created has a 6-month duration. If the crafter spends double the amount of coin, so if something costs me, say, 120 copper to make, if I instead elect to choose 240 copper when creating it, it extends the duration to a full year, to 12 months. I will always recommend this.
Yeah.
Always recommend it, because it only increases the coin cost and it only doubles the coin cost. Any of the components are not doubled. So if you've got a really, really expensive one where it costs you, say, 400 copper, just straight coin cost to make, which is a full gold, and 4 philosopher's dust and an adamantium and this and that, and it takes like 6 gold worth of components to create, it is 100% worthwhile to spend the 1 extra gold to extend that to a year duration, so that after 6 months, you don't have to pay the entire cost, which is, it's spend the 8 gold right now rather than 7 gold, and then in 6 months, another 7 gold to have it made. So, you end up saving yourself a ton of money in the long run if it's something that you're going to be keeping for long term. Now, if it's something that you're playing with, or you're not sure if you're going to like it, like with the regeneration one, you might forget to use the item all the time. In cases like that, where you don't know if it's really going to mesh with your character well, or if you're ever going to remember that you have that item to use it or anything like that, I'll recommend, because they're a little bit on the less expensive side, go ahead and get a 6-month duration one. And if after that you find that you're just using it constantly, then go back to that person and buy a year duration one. So, because it's always going to be worthwhile.
So Lone Star asks, is it 6 months in game or 6 months in real life? So they are pretty much the same. So when a week passes in the real world, a week has passed in game as well. So the answer is yes for both. So, but yeah, it is real life time. So
well, and it is real life time more so, because if you end up missing a lot of game, if you go on vacation, or if you can't make it to game for 2-3 months or something like that, and your item only has a month left for its duration, by the time you get back, it will be expired. So there has been some talk about this, because for a lot of people who maybe can't come out to every game, or for those people who visit or can only visit like on Winterfest or during the weekenders, they can't come to all the Wednesday events, they can't come to the seldom Saturday events and stuff like that. There have been talks about kind of modifying things, nothing set in stone. And I've personally talked to several people who have kind of wanted to, as player emissary, who have wanted to put it on the docket of like, hey, can we have this changed over? Like, I get this item, it's only got 4 months duration left. Because a lot of times when you find items, whether they're magic items or artifice items in party treasure, they don't have 6 months. They're not newly crafted items. They're items that have been around for a while, so they might only have 3 or 4 months left on them. And for somebody who, say, gets one of these items in September at the last weekender and isn't even going to be there until June, the next year for the next round of weeks, it's going to be expired, and they're feeling really kind of I get just bummed. Yeah, they're just bummed that they can't really justify rolling on the items, when party treasure is split and stuff, rolling on these items and getting these really, really cool things that absolutely fit their character, but they're not going to be there. So everybody convinces them, like, well, you guys aren't going to be here until next year, so give this item to somebody else who's going to be playing. They just get bummed, and they've come to me and be like, so I've gotten a couple of really, really cool things, and then have been approached later by other players that basically say, hey, give me that since you're leaving. Like, it's pointless for you to have it. Like, you should hand it over. Like, it makes me feel bad as a player to be like, wow, we actually we have other players going up to people and being like, hey, you should give that up because you're not going to be here. Like, that's not fair. Like, you got your item, you got your stuff, and you're going to be getting more because you're here more often. Just let them have the thing.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't change anything in the long run. And especially since it only has 3 months duration remaining, it's not going to hurt anybody for very long until it expires anyway. So it's on my docket of things to kind of talk about and bring up and stuff like that, is kind of the way that items are used and stuff. But it's just a little bit of a, I guess, logistical nightmare to do it any other way.
Yeah, I understand that for sure.
So, like Lone Star says, so you're only actively playing your character a few hours out of the week. So kind of.
Yeah.
So the way that like a lot of the half day events, the Wednesday modules is that's when big calls of authority are kind of put out, where, you know, people will step forward and be like, hey, we've been trying to do this thing and now we need help. And so that's when the adventurers kind of all get together and be like, hey, we're going to go help this person. Every other day of the week is spent either doing downtime activities. You know, you can always email plot for downtime activities. I know there's like a big forum thing going on right now where you can go and help like the Merchants Guild or help like the nobility of the town or anything like that. That all counts towards your downtime usage to kind of have additional benefits happen throughout the week between events, between, you know, those kind of call outs for help and requests for assistance.
And we're actually going to do an episode where we talk about downtime and how to utilize it and stuff like that too. So, yeah. I don't want to go into it too much, but yeah, there is stuff going on in between the games that you're doing via email and stuff like that, but you're still not necessarily utilizing your magical items or stuff like that. Right. So.
Listen to the LARP Lounge live on Sundays at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time at twitch.tv/Arrustar. That's twitch.tv/ARRUSTAR. Ascendance Gaming Center in Salt Lake City, Utah is a proud sponsor of the LARP Lounge. Ascendance Gaming offers top-of-the-line gaming PCs, VR stations, retro gaming consoles, and board games. Located at 583 Billings Road, Suite number 5 in South Salt Lake, Utah. Mention this ad and get a free hour of PC game time.
But I can definitely see where those people are coming from that only show up for the weekenders and stuff like that. Like, even I would be okay with something for them that's a duration for when they're actually playing. You know what I mean? Right. I wouldn't do it for everyone, but for people like that, it makes sense, because it does kind of suck for them to get this item and then be like, oh, I'm never going to use it.
Well, and it's the same thing. Like, we have a couple of people that were really regular players with us, and then they moved out of state.
Yeah.
And they try to come down to come to every once in a while event, you know, with Winterfest coming up as a great example. They'll usually try to come down for Winterfest specifically to participate in that event.
Yeah.
And this last Winterfest that we just had last year, a couple of them showed up. 2 of them that I can think of specifically showed up and literally sat down with the module runners and said, you know, here are all my items that I've accrued over the years that I've played with you guys. What's still valid? What can I still keep? You know, it's, yes, I haven't been here. I moved out of state and everything. And I know at least one of them was told, sorry, like, it's all expired. Nothing. You get to use none of this. And it forced that person to literally just sit there and do nothing, because they were the way that they built their character was very item heavy. Mm. You know, it's they were kind of item usage dependent. And, you know, sitting down with their stack of items and being like, hey, here's my stuff. What can I use? And being told, nah, nothing. Well, okay, I'll sit here and roleplay. I literally can't get involved in anything else now.
Yeah, that sucks.
And so, yeah, it's those types of situations, I think, garner a little bit of special treatment. But then if you give those people special treatment, other people will whine and complain and want the special treatment as well, even though they come regularly.
Yeah.
You know, so for somebody who's there at every Wednesday event, if we give them the same treatment, their items might actually expire quicker than just having, say, a 6-month duration on it. So there are lots of logistical things to go into when it comes to artifice items, magic items, and their expiration and everything. And so it may be play tested in a little while, or it might be just completely nixed, and everybody's kind of used to the, hey, your items are month specific, they expire this month. And then there might be a couple of special cases where if, say, the weekend players get an item, they might write on there like for use during the weekenders or something, or like, because you got it in September, this is good between June and August instead, for your this 3-month item, instead of lasting from September to December, now goes to June to August. But, there you still get your 3 months. You actually get to use the item. We're not worried about you abusing it because you literally are incapable of showing up. So, all right.
Does the expiration for the beginning or the end of the month?
End. Okay. So whatever the month that is written on the item, whether it's the item card or the scroll or anything like that, any created or magic item lasts through the month that is written on it. So if it says August on there, if it says 8 of 20, it lasts until the end of August, until it is no longer 8/20. So as soon as it becomes 9/20, then it's expired. There are a few exceptions, very, very few exceptions, where it'll have a specified date. Those that have a specified date are usually a 1 day or module specific. And so if it does have a specific date, it'll say that day's date on it. There have been, again, very, 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 very few exceptions to that. But like, I've even gotten an item where it's like, this expires August 21st. And you look at it and you're like, well, August 21st is like a Tuesday. So that doesn't even make sense. What's going on? And you just need to talk to the module runners and plot about it, because it might be a plot specific thing that they anticipate that you're going to say use during some downtime. And if you don't use it during that downtime, by the time that next module hits, by the time Wednesday hits, they have it expire on the Tuesday, so that you can't use it through the Wednesday for that half-day event. So
One Star says, do people ever try using it longer and claim they forgot it had expired? I haven't ever experienced it, but I would probably say the answer is yes.
I'm sure it's happened. I'm sure it's more often that people just honestly forget when things expire, because, I''ve got a stack of items, this whole big stack of things here, which I guess you can't actually tell on camera how many things that is, but it's quite a few. I've even lost track of when some things expire. I'll kind of self-audit myself, periodically, and I'll be like, oh, I've got 3 items that are expired. Have I used any of these items? I did. I used this item. Oops. And it happens. Whether people are doing that intentionally or not, I'm sure it's happened. But we would like to discourage it and say that our player base is very honest and don't do it. But I'm sure it's out there, and I'm sure it's happened.
See, I bought mine on like milestones so that it would help me remember. Like, your weapon I bought at Winterfest, so which is why I asked when it expires, because you made it for February. So now I know after Winterfest it's expired.
Pretty much Winterfest is over and weapon is dead.
My weapon is dead. Like, literally, it's like that's why I did it that way, so that I would remember when it expired. And then I bought one of them during the summer, so I just know during the summer I need to pay attention to. I believe it was the August weekender, like I don't even remember, but I buy them at milestones to help me remember, so I don't buy just.
Well, and I honestly think a lot of people do. Like they'll buy it at those kind of memorable things. They'll buy it at the beginning of the weekender season, so that May rolls around, they know I have all this stuff I need to replace, or they'll do it right at the end of the weekender season, so that they have it through the next weekender season and can accumulate all the money and items and stuff you get through the weekenders to then repurchase it again. So the end of September hits and they come up to them and they're like, hey, remember that cool sword you made? I need another one of those. wow, here's my weekender earnings.
Yeah, for real.
Can you do it for me? Or at Winterfest, or at kind of those special occasions.
Yep.
I think a lot of people do it that way because, like, I mean, I know I've got things that expire almost every month of the year now. I mean, 1, 2, 9, 5, 4. Yeah, I mean, it's every month of the year. I've got something that expires, so you have to just kind of keep track of it. And yeah, it's exactly what Nevitz is saying there. I think that happens more than I think people realize.
Yeah,
you just don't know when your stuff expires because you have so much of it, and you're like, I used this. Oh, never mind. I shouldn't have used that. Huh.
Yeah.
Whoops.
See, and like, I actually need to look into my turtle ring because I think I don't. Oh no, it did expire, but I legacied it, so I was good. So
legacy is going to be the exception to that, where you can spend your mythic points or your money to just give it another 6 months at any time. Like even right now, if you had the money to do it again, you could just extend it right now, paying the legacy cost, and you'll just get an additional 6 months on it.
Oh, okay. So, not from today, but from the 6 months.
Yeah. Because it extends the duration. It doesn't give you 6 months from when you pay the legacy.
Okay.
It extends the duration 6 months. So if you want to jump on and you want to throw down the 9 gold or whatever it is right now to extend it 3 times, there you go. Now you have an extra 18 months on it.
Nevin says, I'm going to have to do that with my armor this year. Yeah, he's super bummed about that because he has some pretty unique armor.
Is it legacy armor or?
No, it's not. It was something made by another character, but it's a character that's retired, but he did some experimentation while making it, which came out with some bonuses that are very nice. And he's not. Yeah, he's gonna miss. Yeah,
I was
4 slots.
I was gonna say from the iron. That's actually, holy cow, 4 slots.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. So he was hoping badly to get that extension. But.
So getting into that stuff then of the artificing things. So when an artificing implement is created, whether you're the one creating it or you're having it made for you, it is always going to have a single augment slot. So just one, a single augment slot. The only exception to this is large, heavy, 2-handed weapons.
Okay.
Which come with 2. Now, the reason that the weapon is specific is because a lot of people will dual wield. And so if they have, say, 2 one-handed swords, they get 2 slots. So why are you punishing somebody for going with the harder to use weapon? So it has 2 slots, with staffs specifically having 2 augment slots, 1 for weapon, 1 for rune, I believe, for spell focus. Because it's a staff, it's specifically like kind of more castery and whatnot. But they all come with 1. Now, when you have your item made or you make the item, you can add a number of what are called enhancements to it. So if the artificer is powerful enough, they can do like double perk, triple perk, double augment, or triple augment. And that does exactly what it sounds like, is it doubles or triples the amount of perks or augments on an item. Now, same thing with perks. It comes with a single perk that they can have. So a single perk, single augment. Now with the 2-handed weapon, if you do double augment, you get 3, not 4. So it doesn't double the 2. It's you get 1 for free, as it were. So the 2-handed weapon comes with 1 augment, and then is either doubled or tripled, and then you get 1 additional on top of that. Okay. So it's not 2 slots and then double those or triple those, because it would just be ridiculous to have a weapon with 6 slots. That would be dumb.
That would be so broken.
And I think there's a couple of weapons out there right now that have 4 slots, and those ones are pretty broken as they are.
It says Hammer of Fall for the win.
I think the Hammer for Fall is one of them that has 4 slots.
Well, it's a artifact, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Like I said, they're usually very, very broken items. But I don't think Boji's ever had more than like 2 things ever augmented into it at a time anyway. So you haven't abused your hammer the way you should. But you have to choose those at item creation. If once the item is made, it cannot be enhanced later on. So if you have, say, a sword made for you, Krow was a weapon artificer, so I'm going to refer to weapons the most because it's what I have.
Yeah, it's what you knowledge.
Yeah, it's what I have the most knowledge of, but I've poured over the Book of Secrets probably more times than anyone else, including Gomez. Doubtful, but see, I forgot what I was saying.
Never says he has 3 slots right now. Or 3.
Oh, you've got 3 of the 4 full right now?
Wow.
See, you still need to get another one. So if you have a weapon created for you and you don't have any enhancements done because the enhancements are more expensive, it occurs more cost onto having the weapon made or just the implement made. If you don't do it now at creation, you don't get it later. So you can't enhance something. So if I make a sword for you and it has a single slot and you're like, oh, well, I that's fine. I'll put this one blade stone in. And then you find a really cool blade stone later. You're like, hey, can you just enhance this to have it? That can't happen. So that's with perks as well. So perks are small additions that you can add to any implement to increase their usability. Of course, the most used perk is going to be user friendly. Mm-hmm. So, because that's what makes it so you don't have to be specifically trained, or so another character doesn't have to spend their hard-earned skill points in either diversified training or into the craft skill to use your big, hugely overly impressive crafting things. So that's going to be the most used one. And then a lot of the other ones are going to give you like additional knowledges or lores, things like that. I know with weapons specifically, you can put a perk on there that makes it so when applying a consumable to it, it only takes a 3 count rather than a 5 count, or to where you can actually store one in the weapon. So at the beginning of the logistics, you go to the module runner and say use your sharpening stone 2 or whatever, and attach it to the weapon, and then anytime during the logistics, you can just activate it and immediately then get the effects, because with a lot of the consumables, they only last for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So you might not want to do it right out the gate, or you might get into a battle and think, oh, I need this really cool thing. Like I know a lot of people have put like shadow polishes on. You know, they're like, oh, we step into the room and it's full of ghouls or whatever, and they're like, oh, shadow polish. And then it turns out like they walk in and all the ghouls are an illusion, or they walk in and all the ghouls fall to 1 hit or something like that. And you're like, oh, I totally wasted that item. Okay. Yeah. So by being able to kind of store something into it, you can enter those fights and stuff like that. And before you activate it, you can kind of swing a couple of times, hit. Okay, these things are a little tougher. Activate, and then you're hitting harder. Yeah. Suddenly. So, most of the artifice implements have those types of things that you can do as perks. For weapons, one of the biggest ones that was always asked of me was the magic damage perk. So it's all of the other damages and whatnot could be done as well, but for a single skill point usage on my end and a perk, you get the magic damage type. So for those of you who don't know, or maybe aren't familiar with LARP or anything like that, in Mythic Realms specifically, the magic damage type, as opposed to silver, fire, earth, air, wind, or normal, basically bypasses any creature's resistance. So a lot of creatures will say like has a damage ceiling of 3 except against silver and magic. Yep. Or like with drakes and stuff like that is they have an all slide, which means they take 1 damage from literally every attack unless it's the magic damage type. So there's lots of creatures that have stuff like that, and very few, like I think some of the ones that don't get bypassed are like werewolves. I think werewolves, they have a damage ceiling against everything, including magic, except silver. Yeah. So they've got a specific weakness, but that's fairly few and far between. So that one was always requested of me, and it was usually requested as a double perk so that they could have user-friendly magic damage and then whatever it is. So on implement creation, so just kind of dive into, he said we were going to go in depth into artificing things. So when an item is created, you create any implement that it is, whether it's the alchemical or tinkering or weapon or armor or anything like that. You create the implement. The implement gets a single ability, and that's done from the entirety of the list of recipes that you know for that artifice from the Book of Secrets. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, there is the Book of Secrets in the rules section on the website. So if you just go to mythicrealms.com, into the rules section, there is the Book of Secrets. And those are all classified into their recipes for each different type. When you create the implement, you get a single ability on it that can be of any recipe that you know. You then get a single perk and a single augment slot. Mm-hmm. You can then, if you are strong enough of a artificer, can put the enhancement on to increase those. Once that's finished, the item is complete. So you do your enhancements, you do your implement ability, and whatever perks, add whatever perks you're going to be doing, and that's it. Augments are then done as a completely separate craft. The crafting for artificing runs off of the same crafting as your standard craft skill. So with your standard craft skill, there are 5 levels for all of the crafting abilities. You get 2 production points per level you have at it. So at 5th level, you have 10 production points. Most implements will cost you 10 production points to make. So you're only going to be able to make 1 item per logistics or per game, unless you're a master artisan, which I was going to get into it just for just a little bit. Augments can then be created for or as any recipe that you know, unless specified that it's implement only. So, which again are very few, and usually if it is, are very powerful. For weapons, there is a weapon augment specifically that is only the implement ability of plus damage. So if it's, say, like a +2 weapon, that can only be made as a weapon. There is then a Bladestone, the augment version for an additional +1, which is completely separate and specifies augment only. So you can only ever have a +2 as the implement and a +1 as the augment, which would get you a +3 weapon. So that's a lot of people are like, well, how do you get like a +3 weapon? That's how. You have to have a +2 implement and then a +1 augment. Very, very expensive, though. Like, you're talking a +3 weapon with literally nothing else on it. It's just +3 damage. Probably cost you somewhere in the tune of like 11 or 12 gold. Wow. For 6-month duration. Oh, wow. And then probably plus another like 3 gold on top of that if you wanted the year duration. Wow. So you're looking at about 14-ish gold just for a +3 weapon. That's no damage type modifiers. That's no additional slots. That's no additional perks. That's like nothing. That's not even with user friendly. That's ignoring the perk altogether because that's additional cost. Wow. So very, very expensive, and every artifice kind of has that item. You know, you always run into the things that have that kind of just maximum overly powerful elusive recipe item. So for those that don't know, what are recipes? So the recipes are the actual abilities that you know that can be put onto an implement or into an augment. So it's going to be things like we've talked about the Troll's Blood. Troll's Blood is a specific recipe in medical artificing that then allows you to create an implement or an augment that has that ability. Like implements or like abilities, I guess I should say, cannot be benefited from the same item. So you can't have an implement with the Troll's Blood and an augment with the Troll's Blood to get 6 times per use, or 6 times per day use of regeneration. Same thing with weapons. Even if you have 2 weapons, if say Krow created for you 2 weapons, this one is a +1 silver weapon with 3 repels. This one is a +1 magic weapon with 3 repels. You're only going to be able to utilize 3 of those repels. You're not going to get 6. Because they're like abilities in the same implement. Because they're both in weapon implements. So you can't stack them on like that. So even if you do like a big, triple augment, 2-handed weapon that has, now 4 slots in it and everything like that, and you just want to fill it up with nothing but, say, death blows. So you just want, your 15 death blows per day or whatever. You can't. You can't do it. It does not work. So, when the augment is created, you're usually given like a little stone unless it's being installed immediately. When augment is created, it can then be installed in an item of the appropriate implement type for a slight infusion cost. Now, infusion is a new ability that is given to artificers that your standard crafters don't have. So even with your standard crafting, a lot of standard crafters can still do artifice recipes as long as they have the schema to do so. So if you go and buy one of the schemas from the CMA, or if we find him in Part of Your Treasure or anything like that, it'll specify on there requires alchemical or alchemy level 5. So somebody with alchemy level 5, so without artificing, can now create that item if they're using that schema.
Okay.
Infusions are specific to artificers, especially to use infusion points and do a number of things. So you'll find them in the same recipe list at the very end, a list of infusions that each individual artificer has access to. Some of them are very similar. Some of them are uniquely different for them. Infusions are done by sacrificing a number of consumables from that craft to get a number of infusion points equal to their production point cost.
Yeah.
So if you have an item, a consumable that costs 3 production points to make, you get 3 infusion points from that. So to take an augment and install it into an implement takes 2 infusion points, as long as the artificer is of the appropriate type and at their forging bench, their crafting bench of whatever it is. Otherwise, it's 5. So if you're out in the field and you find some really cool thing, and you're like, hey, we need this installed immediately, then it's 5 infusion points to get that installed. Otherwise, it's 2 and can be done kind of behind the scenes and everything like that. Other infusion points can be spent to use infusion abilities, which are temporary, sometimes fantastic increases to somebody's health or abilities or damage or anything of that kind. Infusions include, I'm just going to pick on the weaponsmith ones. I could go into some of the armorsmith ones, like blinding speed and stuff like that, which is probably the best one because it gives you 5 sidesteps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But some of the weaponsmith ones are like the Dagger of the Assassin, which is an infusion that you specifically put on a dagger, and it gives you 1 use of the assassinate ability. You just assassinate. You can also do like Weapon of the Demon Slayer, which you can put on any weapon, including a mundane weapon. That weapon then becomes, I believe it's a +3 magic cleanse weapon that once per day, it's either once per day or once per battle, has the ability to do an offensive force restore your spirit.
Oh, okay.
So it's specifically meant for like fighting demons on the dead and stuff like that. So lots of really cool things. All it costs is infusion points. The artificer themselves can spend some of their own essence. So if they want to drain one of the skill points out of their reservoir, they can immediately get 20 infusion points. Now, infusion points are a use them immediately or lose them thing. So if you burn an item that gives you 5 infusion points and you only use 2 of them, the other 3 are lost completely.
Yeah.
Like you don't get to hold on to them. You don't get to keep them until later, anything like that. It's use them right now or lose them. So a lot of people will get down very specific to the point of how many they need. So if they need 15 points of infusion, they will separate out their stuff so they have 15 exactly and not 16 or 18 or anything like that. They will try not to go over because anything not used immediately for that infusion is wasted and gone.
Yeah.
There are a few exceptions to this. I think there's been a few magic items that have come in that have said, you can put a number of infusion points into this item and it keeps it for the day. But it's otherwise lost if you don't use them. With that, when you become an artificer, you gain an item card for your reservoir, for your artifice reservoir. This is going to be based on the number of points you have burned towards artificing. Now, when you become an artificer or a ritual caster, instead of putting skill points towards combat abilities or defenses or utility abilities or anything like that, you can choose to put your skill points towards your artificing. Those skill points are burned and forever gone. So if you do that, if you burn, your 3 skill points to unlock this recipe, they're gone. You can't ever use those skill points for anything else ever.
When are you considered an artificer? Like, is it the second you take the skill to craft, you're considered an artificer?
So both the standard craft skills and the artifice skill are utility abilities.
Okay. So
the standard craft skill will go up to level 5. Artifice will go up to level 3.
Okay.
You are considered an artificer as soon as you purchase level 1 of that craft artificing. Now, any artifice skill requires that you have level 5 of the craft skill to be able to take level 1 of the artifice. So you can't be, I couldn't be a level 5 weaponsmith and take level 1 armor artificing. I could only choose to take weapon artificing. That's it. The different levels of artifice are going to be the different things that you can do. So at level 1, you can read the schema and you can, you can learn common recipes. At level 2, you can do research on common things. And at level 3, you can research and learn rare recipes. So that's going to be the difference. That's why you want to get up to level 3, because a lot of the very powerful artifice things are rare recipes. And until you're a level 3 artificer, you can't even learn them. You can't even start researching them. You can't learn the trees with those. A lot of them, the expertise groups have several recipes in them. There's going to be several rare in each expertise group, and you can't even learn those ones until you can do the research, which you can't do until you hit level 3. So they don't give you any additional production points or anything like that. It's purely for your use of research in artifice, and that's it. Depending on how many points you've spent in artifice will unlock different abilities as you kind of master artifice. Once you get to 50 points spent, you can start researching elusive or unknown recipes. And I think it's as soon as you get, I don't remember what level it's at now. As soon as you've spent a certain amount of artifice, of skill points in artifice, you unlock additional benefits as well, like certain things costing you less money or less skill points or something like that. And then the same as with ritual, in artifice, as soon as you have more than 200 points spent in artifice, you're supposed to immediately alert plot, because then something special happens for you. You have become a true master of the craft, and you get an additional benefit from it. So like with Krow mastered both artifice and ritual. And with my artifice, A couple of things that I unlocked the ability to do was retain infusion points. So if I overspent on infusion points, I could actually hold on to them for a little bit.
Oh, wow.
I could use all crafting dust interchangeably with itself. So if a recipe called for specifically like a philosopher's dust and a celestial dust, but all I had was a Tellurian dust, I could just substitute it out. I could just be like, it requires a celestial, but here's a Tellurian, it works.
Oh.
And the big perk that I got was once per year, I get a free use of the infusion of the Slayer on myself, which the infusion of the Slayer, you do the full infusion, so your 30 count infusion, and you get then 5 uses of Force Slay to immediately use.
Wow.
Normally a very, very expensive infusion. I can once per day just use it for free. And if I use that one, I get a 6th swing of Slay. So just once per year, I just get 6 free slays.
Wow.
I just go ham. So not a lot of things can stand up against that. Maybe some scaring or something like that, but
now
not a whole lot.
Infusions are separate from like augments and stuff like that. Infusions are like for module length.
Yes,
only,
yeah. They are very, very temporary, lasting either 5 or 10 minutes. Or for the one module, for the logistics. They are put on the implement specifically, but is user specific. So if, say, you had this weapon and I put an infusion on this of the Demon Slayer, let's say, only you wielding this weapon get that ability. Okay. If you wield a different weapon, you don't get the ability. And if anybody else wields this weapon, they don't get the ability. Okay. Only you wielding this weapon, I basically link the two of you together through the infusion, and only you using this weapon gets to benefit from that. Now, like with that one, I believe that one lasts for the entire logistics. So even if you gave this to somebody else to use for a little bit and they gave it back to you, you'd be fine. But they don't get any of the benefits from your infusion. So same thing with the armor. Like there's a really cool weapon or armor infusion that makes it so your armor, regardless of type, can appear as normal clothes.
Yep,
for the
my
day.
Favorite one, armor of cloth. Yep. I used it in the summer.
Yep. So, but it's the same thing, and it only benefits you wearing that specific suit of armor. So, if you try to put on a different suit of armor, you have to physically put the armor on. If you try to give your armor to somebody else to use, they have to wear the physical armor. It's only you wearing that armor gets to appear as cloth, meaning it's basically just a way for players to not have to wear the big, bulky, heavy armor for a day, because a lot of times, especially during the weekenders and stuff, it can get really, really hot. And running around in this, it's heavy, it's hot, it's difficult. We've had people pass out before. And I think we even talked about it last season where, we've had people just clunk out and faint. But it was basically put in there to alleviate a little bit of that stress, because you don't want to just stop playing because you're not wearing your armor, because frankly, you're kind of a tanky character, and without your armor, you're a little squishy.
Yep.
So they kind of put that into game to make it so you don't have to always just be running around and sweating profusely. So they put that in there. So if you need reprieve for a day or something like that, hot August day or something like that, you have that cast on you. And then for the day, you just don't have to wear your armor, but you get all benefits of.
Yep.
So
yeah, it was super handy when I had it. It was liberating.
Yes, I think there's even an elusive armor one that just gives it that at all times.
The armor of cloth, it costs like 9 infusion or something like that.
I think it's 10 infusion and a skill point.
Is it a skill point?
Maybe.
I don't even know if it's a skill. I know it's like 10 infusion, and that's why I've started collecting shadow polish.
I can find out very quickly here.
Because I had to provide the infusion points, which I did. So
yeah, So, and again, the infusion points are gained by just the artificer using consumables.
Yeah.
So for something like that, where it's just a quick infusion, you hand them over a couple of armor buffs or something you've acquired over the last little while, which are very easy to obtain and very common. It's just 10 infusion.
Yeah. So I had to give him like some armor buffs +1 and some shadow polishes, and he did it.
Yep. Yeah. So at 10 infusion, it's actually a very cheap infusion.
Mm-hmm.
That basically makes it so you don't have to wear your armor for a day.
I just had to have banner there, and that was the only problem.
Yeah. So that is the big thing is with the infusions, again, because they are artifice specific. You're probably not going to find any schemas or anything like that lets somebody else do an infusion on you. There are a couple of rare magic items that have come into game that they've kind of play tested with, or that have been won from like the Mythic raffles and stuff, where it's like, hey, you get 3 charges of any one common infusion. I choose Armor of the Cloth because that infusion is fantastic, and this will make it so three events I don't have to wear my armor.
I'll have to talk to you after this, because at the raffle I got myself free level 3 magic items. So
a level 3 crafted item.
I guess. Okay. So I need to find out what I should get, because I'm not familiar enough with it, and there's too many options out there. So
if is it level 3 specific? Like you get
get a level 3, a level 2, and a level 1. I think I got the big one.
You get one of each level.
Yeah, I think I got like one of the big raffles. Like,
right. So it's your level 3 items. Yeah, you can probably get some pretty cool stuff. Yeah. So
now it says, I think there should be some in-game effect that makes it cheaper during the summer months. That would be cool.
No. It should probably be the other way, because the reason that they put it in there was for the people that wear the big heavy armor during summer to cost as much as it does. To alleviate that a little bit, because the other times they want you to be wearing your armor and stuff. They don't want to make it easier to get out of having to wear your armor. So I would say it would almost be more expensive in the summer, or less expensive in the winter, in the winter and stuff like that. So it's in
supply and demand.
Yeah. It's winter time it costs 5, summertime it costs 10, or winter it costs 10, summer it costs 20. Yeah, type thing. Because it's they want to keep up the illusion of the game, of the fantasy. And if suddenly you don't have to wear your big blue shiny scale armor, and instead can just kind of put a jacket on because or whatever, just run around in your shirt, it takes away from that immersion of the game. So no, there's no way that they would make it cheaper in the summer just to give somebody a little bit of a break. I don't see that happening ever.
And to be honest, 10 is relatively cheap anyway. I think I had to give them. How much are shadow polish? I think they're 5 each. I think I had to give them 2 shadow polish, and it was done. Like, it wasn't really that bad.
I think shadow polish is 4. Fortification buff is 5, I think.
Was it?
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, but even a couple of those and a couple of armor buffs,
yep.
That's 8.
I remember I gave them like 2 shadow polish and an armor buff +2, I think is what it was.
And that would be 10. Yep. So yeah, it's relatively inexpensive. Most of the infusions are pretty inexpensive until you start getting up to the either multiple effects or the high level effects like Assassinate.
Yeah.
Because it's a dire level effect and it just gives you a free use of Assassinate. I think that one is, the Dagger of Assassinate's like 15 infusion and 3 skill points.
Wow.
And a Strenuous. So let's talk about Strenuous for just a second. So with your reservoir, as you spend more points, you get to accumulate more points in your reservoir. The skill points you burn towards your reservoir can then be used towards in-game things. So like I said, there's a lot of downtime things that can happen, a lot of behind the scenes things that can happen. But during a module in a game, anytime that you do any of those things that require you to spend a skill point or any personal essence or anything like that to bring down an artifice wall or to infuse something or any of those types of things, have to run from your reservoir. alongside with your reservoir skill points are reservoir strenuous. And even at max at 200 skill points spent in artificing, you get 5 strenuous per year. That's it. So every April they reset, which is kind of the mythic new year is in April. Mm-hmm. Every April they reset, but from April to the next April, you only get 5. And so doing something like the Dagger of the Assassin, not only is it very expensive with the cost, just with 3 skill points out of your reservoir, 15 infusion, it also requires you to burn one of those strenuous. Now, the reason that the strenuous are so revered is because for an artificer, they use their strenuous to harvest materials as well. So any artificer is going to be able to harvest 3 main components for artifice. For weaponsmith specifically, I can do Fade Root, Mithril, and Adamantium. And Mithril is not used very much by weaponsmiths, but it's used very heavily by, say, armor artifice, or even tinkering artifice.
Oh, yeah.
I think it requires a mithril. Tinker artifice and can make like the high level locks.
Yeah.
And it requires a mithril for a level 7 lock. So tinkerers and armor smiths will use mithril all the time. So say an armor artificer can't harvest mithril. I think they get like Fade Root, Onyx, and something else. Red Ruby Dust, maybe. Whatever it is that they get, they harvest those things, but they can't harvest mithril. So that it was done intentionally to kind of force players with crafting skills to intermingle either with the CMA or with other players. So an armor artificer would come to me and say, hey, I need some mithril. Will you harvest some for me? I know it takes, from your reservoir. It's a strenuous, everything like that. How about I kick back? And I know you use onyx a lot. You harvest me some mithril, or I'll harvest you some onyx. We'll call it square. And now I get a bunch of a component that I have a hard time getting a hold of. They get a hold of a bunch of something they can't get a hold of, and everything's square. So strenuous is one of the big things that you always need to watch out for, because if you're going to request something, a infusion or something like that, and it's strenuous, it might actually cost you more than just what the infusion is.
Just the infusion points, yeah.
Yep. And you go to somebody and be like, hey, this thing costs 15 infusion, but it's also a strenuous, and they might be like, yeah, it's going to cost you 2 gold.
Yeah, makes sense. So Nevin says, I won't use that the armor of cloth infusion, which he's talking about. He won't use that infusion with Boji. His armor is too iconic, I think. And I kind of thought the same thing too, but it gets hot. And,
even for iconic armor, it's just a way to kind of, again, it's to give yourself a reprieve during those really, really hot days, so that if during the day, if you just have to take your armor off and you plunk it down like in the tavern or something like that, just have somebody cast that on you really quick. And then if somebody attacks while you're resting, one, you don't have to worry about dying as quickly, because somebody's attacking you, but you still act as though you had your armor on. And then 2, if somebody comes in and they're like, hey, we're leaving now, and you want to go to that, it's not to give me 5 minutes to give me my armor, to get my armor back on, or 15 minutes.
Always like
just
that.
Right. You don't have to worry about those things. And it's just a little bit of the reprieve for those excruciatingly hot days where you can't just wear your armor all day. As Krow wearing my other armor, it got hot, it got heavy, it got just a pain to wear, especially during the really hot days or really humid days or anything like that. We get a bunch of rainfall and stuff like that. Now you got a bunch of leather stuck to you. It's not fun. So no, it's a way to just kind of alleviate that for a little bit. It's not meant to be used every day. It's not meant to be used as a workaround for having armor. And in order to benefit from it, you have to have not only your item card for your standing armor, but the phys rep for the standing armor. So if somebody goes to cast that on you, he has to have this armor physically with him for him to benefit from that. He then gets to take it off, go put it in his tent, mark it as out of game, all that good stuff because he's wearing it. It's just lessened to cloth right now. But he still physically must have it as both the phys rep and as the item card of its magic armor to gain the benefit from that infusion. So I think a lot of people don't understand that there's still a lot of things that kind of work backwards from that, and you can't just use infusions and artifice and a lot of the in-game things to subvert other rules. Like, I couldn't just walk up and be, as Krow with my medium armor, just say, oh, well, I had armor of the cloth cast on me, so now I'm wearing heavy armor. Because, hey, heavy armor is better than medium armor, so... or people that wear light armor, like this would be classified as light armor. I can't have armor of the cloth cast on me and just say that I have heavy armor now, because it doesn't work that way. Like, this is the armor that it's replacing. This is what it represents.
Okay.
So
he says, Yorshka says hi, by the way. That's his female bearded dragon. Hi, Yorshka.
Says, only if it's one of those bearded dragon where you look at it and it kind of does the whole thing.
His bearded dragons have good personalities.
Do they? Oh, okay. Because I've seen that happen a lot with people with their lizards and their bearded dragons and their geckos and stuff in the tank. Anytime you look over at them quickly or whatever, they look at you and go, or when you just kind of lift up a hand like, hey.
Yeah. They have good personality. I like them.
So to kind of pull all the artificing things together, you can see here, I've got a number of different things. Each thing represents a different piece of artifice. Your standard popsicle stick is what you see with the majority of everything. These are nice and easy because they can be printed on. We've even got little stamps to mass produce them and everything like that. And this can be as easily represented as drinking a potion or anything like that, because even if this has the name of a potion or a sharpening stone or an armor buff or anything like that, with its expiration and everything like that, using the standard popsicle stick for all of our normal consumables and even the advanced consumables from Artifice, now it's used. Yep. And that cannot be disputed whatsoever at all, that has been used and is now no longer able to be used. So that's what's used there. When you get into Artifice, a new thing that you'll see are the large popsicle sticks, which, for comparison, just for size, yeah, you can see that pretty good, is much, much bigger. The large popsicle sticks designate usable components for Artifice specifically. So I've got a couple of examples here. It's what has your mithril and your onyx and your different dusts and stuff like that. I'll get to that later. But this is used to represent the big components, as it were, for artificing specifically. So if you ever see any of these, if you see one laying on the ground or, kind of half of one poking out or something like that, it's meant to be that way so it can be easily identified as that type of component. So that's why they went with these ones instead of, a lot of people will still use the small ones for components, like when they're doing their logistics and they're drafting up and everything like that, they'll still use the small ones, but that is neither ideal or requested. And a lot of times, if they're making a lot of them or long duration components, they'll actually specifically be asked to go and obtain the larger ones later. Like, they'll sign these ones for now in case any of them need to be used today, but they will ask them to go get these and have those converted over to the large ones instead.
He says she's watching this show very intently, and there she is.
That's pretty funny.
Yep, we got a new viewer.
Nevitz just sent over a picture of Yorshka watching the stream.
Yeah.
Yes,
he said, and it does look like she's very intent on it. So
just staring straight at it.
She's glued on it.
Moving pictures.
I'm trying to make her bite the screen.
Yep. So, and then you have colored popsicle sticks. Yellow is the only restricted color. So you can use anything else that you want for your items. We've had a lot of people will use like orange ones to show like a healing item, or they'll use green ones to show an armor item, or things of that nature. You're usually fine on that. Or we've had a couple of people they'll color the tips with marker, so they'll color the tip with like green and then like a black or silver like cross or plus sign in to indicate that, hey, that's a healing item. And that way, if they're all like kind of in a bag or anything like that, you can just tell from the tip, hey, this is a healing item, this is a armor buff, this is a whatever, by designating the tips as different colors for your different things, just because it makes it easy. Like you have your wrist thing for it. If that was covered more where you couldn't like read it and just like the one tip was poking out, you could totally color the tips of all of your shadow polishes black, and hey, I've got 3 black tipped popsicle sticks right here, those are all shadow polishes or something like that. The only restricted color is yellow, and it's because yellow is used to designate high level or otherwise prismatic components for rituals or high level artificing. So if anything is on a yellow popsicle stick, as I have here, I've got a rune dust and some prismatic gems and some prismatic dust. Those are reserved with yellow popsicle sticks. So same thing with those. Anytime you have a different item made for you, say a lock, it comes with a number of keys. Mm-hmm. Keys need to be designated on popsicle sticks as well, if for nothing else, again, because these are very easy to represent as items in game. Keys can be stolen and keys can be broken, which a lot of people don't take into consideration. So if I take this key and this key is now no longer usable for that lock. So if you've got a lock you don't need like a strength for that. You can just straight up. I think I've never been told anything different, but it might just be because Krow was really, really strong, and they were just like, yeah, Krow can do it.
Krow can do it, yeah.
It's if you try to do it, you might want to specify, but as far as I know, the keys themselves act as your standard consumable and can be broken just as a standard consumable, and if broken, is now no longer usable. So if you have a lock made for you and it comes with 7 keys, I get a hold of all of them and I snap all 7 keys, you now don't have a key that can open your own lock. So the bigger portion of that is because keys are stealable. So just like any other component or any other in-game item, they can always be pickpocketed from you or physically taken from you. If you've just got this, sitting in your bracer, if I've got this, sitting right here or something like that, and you reach up and you take that is 100% yours. You have taken it. I will probably try to get it back, but you have successfully taken it. So keys, like this one here is a key. It says key for this specific lock. If I have this key and I find the lock that it goes to, I now have full entrance to that building or that chest or that whatever has this lock on it. Manacles, yeah. So any of those things, anything that has a lock on it will have an associated key with it. And some people, like with manacles, they'll only have, say, 1 or 2 keys made for it, even though you can have, I think it's up to 7 for any lock item. You can have up to 7 keys made for it. A lot of people for manacles will only get like 1 or 2 keys made for the manacle because they don't want to have just this big thing of manacles or a big thing of keys for all their manacles. So they only have 1 or 2 keys. And if I'm manacled and you're standing right next to me and I reach into your pocket and I pull this out and it's okay, this is key for this one, these manacles are this, and now I'm out. And it's happened before. It's happened in game before, which is why we need the representative of those things.
Yeah.
There are a few exceptions to the popsicle sticks that are specifically used with artificing. As you can see here, I have a specified item, which is a Necrether, a highly illegal illegal item in the game. This is from Krow's stuff. Surprise, surprise. All of this stuff is from Krow's stuff. So surprise, surprise, I have a Necrether. they will oftentimes use the different colors to represent that this is dramatically different from anything else. So even though it's just a Necrether, it's just a consumable, it's not a crafting component or anything like that, they decided to put this on a large orange popsicle stick because it represents that it is dramatically different and is visually able to be determined as dramatically different than anything else in the game. So it's not yellow, it's big, it's got a regular name on it, it's just a regular consumable. But if I had all of these things together and sitting in a big pile, you would notice that one out of everything else. Mm-hmm. So that one, because it sticks out so much, is noticeable right away. So I think I did that all right behind the microphone.
Yeah, now you can see it.
Now you can see. And even though you can only see it just a little bit, it still sticks out in the pile of stuff. So that's the reasoning for that. Now with Fizz Reps, a lot of times you are required to provide your own Fizz Rep for every item that you have. If you do not have a Fizz Rep, you cannot use the item. So if all you have is the item card, you cannot use the item. It represents the fact that your character left it at home, that you lost it on the trail, that you maybe stuck it in the bottom of your backpack and you can't find it right now, anything like that. If you are unable to produce the physical representation of an item on request, then you do not get to benefit from the abilities of that item, regardless. There are a couple of exceptions, again, with the kind of Tinker Twist stuff. There is a Tinker Twist that allows you to essentially hide an item, and it makes it so you can just put the item out of game in your just out of game stuff, but still gain the benefits from it. So, but again, rare and a very specific thing. So unless otherwise specified, your items do not need to be out visibly in the open. There are a couple of magic items that specify this must be open or must be worn openly or something like that. There is no artifice item that is specified to that. So if you have a Tinker Twist, you can absolutely stick it in your pocket. If you've got a big spell focus, wand or something like that, and you put it in your bag where nobody can even see the thing, that's fine. Just understand that if your bag is, say, pickpocketed, and they get everything in the main pouch that would be considered the main pouch of your bag, and the Fizz Rep goes, they get everything. They get the item card, they get the Fizz Rep, they get everything. Your Fizz Rep will be returned to you. Just mind you, so if you're going out and you're buying a bunch of expensive stuff, your Fizz Rep will be returned to you. But the item itself is gone. You've lost it, it's been stolen from you, whatever. Mm. Same thing goes for dropping items. If I'm walking along and I've got, this bouncing around in my back pocket and it slips out and falls and the person behind me picks it up, I am now required to give them the item card and everything associated with it. So even if I don't want to. So that's kind of a overview of your Fizz Reps and everything. Your items, your actual artifice items, they're going to go on a standard item card. So all of the templates and everything like that for scrolls, for runes, for item cards, everything like that can again be found in the forums, from the website. Just go into I think it's the logistics tab and into the item creation. There's just a pinned thread for item templates. You can go on there, you can grab this. The regulation for item cards is it has to be of their print. So there's very specific print on here for their item cards, and it must be printed on orange cardstock. If it's printed on orange paper, it will not be counted. And if it's printed on cardstock other than orange, it will not be counted. So if at logistics you try to fill this item card out with the item that you're trying to create for somebody, they won't be able to use that item. They will count it as like you made a mistake during the crafting. It's going to take you another week to fix it. All that kind of stuff. You won't lose out on your logistics. You just won't be able to utilize the item for the day.
So even the item itself has to be printed. The item itself has to be printed, or just the template has to be printed.
Well, if you're using the template, as long as you print the template out on orange cardstock, you're fine.
Okay, so you can handwrite what the item is and the abilities.
Oh yeah,
the template
the template is literally just this. So it just says, the item name is this, the magic level is this, item type is this, stuff like that. So I mean, I don't know if we can get a good shot of that way up in the
also
thing.
Has a question too. Can normal pockets be pickpocketed?
Like pants pockets and stuff? Yeah, it's anything. So the standard use of pickpocket is going to be either done with a sticker or with a small clothespin. And any containing pocket, whether it's a pocket or a bag or anything like that, that could have a sticker stuck to it or a clothespin clipped to it, can absolutely be pickpocketed. The overlying rule on that is that it must be accessible and visible. So if your pockets are, say, under your armor, you can't just clip something to the outside of the armor and say, well, I know he's got a pocket under there, so give me everything. Like that does not fly. Okay. And so that's why you'll see a lot of stuff like Orin was really good about like keeping his pouch and stuff tucked in like under his armor and everything, because it wasn't available or visible. Which means like that you can't just clip it right here and be like, well, I know Orin keeps his money pouch down on his necklace down under here, so clip, okay, that's mine now. If it is not accessible and not visible, then you cannot pick it. Now, that also means that if you say sit down and your armor moves and your pocket is now exposed or your pouch is now exposed, it can for that moment be pickpocketed.
I might start wearing my pouches under my armor then now that it's longer.
A lot of people do. So that's why you'll see like a lot of people, they'll have like dummy pockets, the dummy pouches and stuff, and you never see them put anything in or take anything out. It's because they're literally just empty, and then they'll have all their stuff will be like, like actually concealed. So
I might have to do that then.
No. So even if they put the sticker on your pocket and the sticker falls and sticks to your knee, that's too bad for them. So a couple of rules for pickpocketing. I guess we'll get into that a little bit since it was brought up. A couple of the rules for pickpocketing is the sticker or clothespin must stay attached until a marshal approaches you. So if somebody was to say, put the sticker or the clothespin on you, and you notice it and you go, well, what the heck? And you flick it off. As soon as the marshal comes over, you're like, no, I saw it. Yep. And the pickpocketing attempt is failed. Yeah. Same goes for anybody else observing you. So if I put this on him and you walk over and you notice it and you're like, hey, what's going on with that? And takes it off, the pickpocketing attempt has failed. So if they stick a sticker to a pouch that you have like thrown over your shoulder and it falls and it sticks to your armor somewhere down in the mid region, it means absolutely nothing. They can't pickpocket your armor. So if it fell off of if the sticker just falls off the pouch and sticks somewhere else, again, it's too bad for them. Their pickpocketing attempt has failed. So everything is in the favor of the victim. I guess you could say of the intended victim. Yeah. So what a lot of people will do, however, is they will inform a marshal prior to the pickpocket attempt so that the marshal can jump on it immediately. So what they'll do is they'll inform a marshal, hey, mealtime, I'm going to attempt to pickpocket Boji. Let's say I'm going to attempt to pickpocket Boji for this pouch. I'm going to sit down next to him and, clip it on. I want you to be right there. So as soon as I clip that on and then stand up, you can step in. Now, this comes with an additional risk of if you do that, as soon as I sit down next to you, I'm like, hey, how's it going? And then I stand up and leave. And then you're immediately informed of, hey, you just got pickpocketed.
You know who did it.
It's a little bit meta because technically you're not supposed to know. That's why a marshal is supposed to get involved instead of the person just being like, I pickpocketed you. Give me all your stuff. It's really, really meta for you to be like, oh, well, that person was sitting next to me and now my pocket's empty. A lot of marshals will tell you, you notice the pocket is empty as soon as the next time you go to retrieve something from it. So, it's you need to, again, kind of the suspension of disbelief there. You need to just go about your business. And, it's not until the next time that you would go to get into that pouch or that pocket that you notice that it's empty. And then you can put together any accusations or anything you want from there. But that's kind of how that works. So if you've got all your pockets covered, you don't have any exposed pouches or anything like that, you're technically immune to being pickpocketed. But if you sit down or if your armor shifts one way or anything like that and it becomes visible and somebody's able to get the clothespin or the sticker on it without you noticing and a marshal approaches you, that's it. All your stuff's gone. It's just how it is.
It's crazy.
So with the item cards, that they are specified. The template itself that is available comes with 2 different versions. So be aware of what version you're using it. One of them is a fillable PDF. So you can actually type in, it doesn't have to be handwritten. You can actually type in all of the sundries about it, including the back where you write the description, or the truly blank one, like this is the truly blank one where you write everything in. So, and that's completely up to you which one you want to use. I know some people, they will do handwritten things so that people know who crafted it.
Yeah. So
like I will always handwrite mine, and I will always put under the item number, my crafting item number. I actually have a list of every single item I've ever created for people of every artifice item I've ever created. And I will specifically number it, KQ this.
Well,
so
I'll have to look at my weapon then.
Yep. So, and I'm curious when I ended, I think I ended I made a lot of items.
Well, yeah. David says thanks, was just curious about that.
My pleasure. 170.
170 items.
Yep.
Barbarians.
So yeah, I made 170 artifice items. That is item card items, not consumables or anything like that. It is everything that went onto an item card. 170 of them.
Wow. A lot of skill points.
Yeah. I spent a good chunk of skill points in artifice and ritual and everything. So okay, so those are kind of the ins and outs of artificing and crafting. I do know if you go onto the forums, I have an in-game post as Krow talking about my workshop, and if you go to that, it will give you a rundown of kind of everything that we talked about here, of how an implement is ordered and crafted and specified. So, when you start the process, you choose what implement you want, and then you choose whatever enhancements you want, and then you choose your perks and your ability, and then go into all your augments and everything. That's all listed there in very, very fine detail as well.
Okay.
So
for anybody listening that's interested in starting a new character, or those that already have characters, we need a medical artificer, all right? I'm just telling you. Medical artificer, important.
We've had a couple come into town, and they've all left.
They've all left. And I think we have everything else covered except for that.
Yeah, I think all the other ones are covered.
It's literally like our only hole. It's like, no, we need a medical artificer. I need my regeneration.
So we'll toss it out there. Does anybody have any questions about artificing or how to go about getting an item or item specifics?
Or LARP in general, any questions?
Or LARP, well, see, I was going to go into that after.
Oh, well. Northwatch needs a doctor, yo. Yeah. Yeah, we do. So, What
about you?
I asked the questions I had when we were doing it, so
Okay.
I don't know about anything else really. Kind of went into it a lot. I understand it a lot more than I used to.
Good.
Maybe I'll be the medical. I don't know that I want to spend that many skill points, though, is the problem.
It gets there. It gets spendy. Like it's you take all of the skill points. Like I think when I retired Krow, I had like 228 skill points just burned to artificing.
Yeah.
So you think about that, and 228 skill points could have been used.
That's two more levels.
Anywhere else. I mean, that could have been used towards combat abilities to get force skills. That could have been utility abilities to get myself more rages or more strength. That could have been just more weapon damage for me. I could have just gone with weapon proficiency.
Yeah.
Just gotten more damage. Any of those things, like that's it. Those points could have been spent on a lot of other things, but I chose to go into the artificing specifically. And yeah.
How early did you go into artificing? Like, how many points were you at when you decided to do it?
I mean, I went into weaponsmithing pretty early on. Like, it was probably my third utility skill that I picked up or something. So I went into the weaponsmithing fairly early on. I don't think I got into artificing until almost 400 skill points.
Okay.
So it wasn't for a little while. And of course, because of the winds of change and everything like that, changes were made to crafting and artifice and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's about when those changes came into effect. So I'm like, sure, there's more things for weapons to be done now. Okay.
Evan says Boji is still a bit off from artifice by this summer, probably.
Oh, what artifice is Boji going to go into? Just kind of curious there.
While he's answering, I forgot my question now. Shoot. Weaponsmithing.
Okay. That's fair enough. Start making your own augments for your hammer.
Yeah, diversified training. Does that count as the craft skill or no?
So it counts as though you have the craft skill for use of those items. If you also have the diversified crafting in diversified training, so there's 10 categories of diversified training. If you have diversified crafting as one of them, it allows you to produce one level 1 item from any of the other diversified crafting crafts that you have. So it doesn't count as the craft skill, as far as like giving you 2 production points and, all that kind of stuff, but it gives you the ability to use those items. And then if you pick up diversified crafting, allows you to create a level 1 item from any of them on your list. So if you've got like armor and weapon and medicine, you could, if you then picked up diversified crafting, once per logistics, create a level 1 item from any one of those. Mm-hmm. So with like from medicine is really good because you can make yourself a bunch of first aid salves or something as well. So
first aid salves are needed for a lot of new characters.
Indeed.
So. Oh, I think that's probably going to be the end of it. We took a deep dive into artificing, like we said. I hope it didn't go over too many people's heads. There's a lot there for sure.
Yeah, it's the artificing stuff, especially if you look into the Book of Secrets, you're going to be overwhelmed by the amount of recipes that are in there. Just understand that a lot of them are multi-use because there's some that kind of interchange. There's some weapon things that kind of go into medicine things. There are some armor things that go into tinkering things and stuff like that. It does look a little bit daunting, but if you're going into the artifice field, you only need to look at one of those sections. So out of the 7 different crafting skills that there are, you only need to look at one of them. And until you hit 50 points spent in artificing, you don't even need to look at the elusive section. So just the standard section of recipes and infusions are all you need to look at to begin with. And it'll kind of give you an idea. If you look at the beginning, it'll say, at level 1, you can become proficient with common things, and harvest some Fade Root. And that's it for there. And it says as you go into level 2 and into level 3, it kind of goes into all of those things that you can then do, but you only need to look at a very small portion of it. So even though the Book of Secrets is very large, very long, you only need to look at one small section. So it's not that daunting if you think about it as a small section rather than the entire thing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Nevin says, yeah, it's crazy. Lone Star says, thanks, guys. And Blackberry says, definitely informative. Thank you.
Of course.
Well, thank you guys for being here. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the comments. We appreciate it. Especially thank you for the bits and the subscriptions. Always beneficial.
Lots of follows, lots of subscriptions, lots of bits.
Yep. So appreciate that. Next week, I don't know who we've got yet. I'm still trying to figure that out, but I just want to give you guys kind of an overview of what I want to go over this season. So I do want to go over like backgrounds and like the importance of making a good background for your character. And as one person pointed, not painting yourself in a corner so that you're not kind of pigeonholed into one specific thing necessarily. I want to go over more into the lore of like the world. So like the different kingdoms and the different, just all the different factions.
Are you going to go worldwide or are you going to stick Taroth side?
I might do Taroth on one and then Laroth on another. I'm not sure. So, because I know they're kind of might be facing out with Laroth. I'm not sure 100%.
There's not a whole lot going on over there.
Yeah, so I might not even touch it. We'll see. Just kind of depends on how game goes. I want to talk about, like we talked about earlier, about downtime and how you can utilize your downtime and what you can do during downtime and the importance of it, why you want to do it. So those are just a few things that we'll be talking about in a few different episodes. I'll have to come up with more as well, but we'll go over that. Oh, we're going to go over classes big time. Since we went over basic skills last season, we're now going to go over the classes because those utilize those skills that we have talked about. So we're going to we're going to cover every class. I know we covered like 6 or so last season, but I'm going to recover them all now that you've learned the skills to just kind of understand what it is that we're talking about. So just stay tuned for all of that. We're going to have probably 10 episodes in this one as well. And then season 3 will probably be a new LARP that we're just discussing. So we'll have to see how it goes. So right now we're still discussing Mythic Realms. But thanks everyone for being here. One final thing we got to say is thank you very much to Ascendance Gaming Center for letting us film here. It's really would not be possible without them. They have a great space that they let me use, and I appreciate it. So here's their website. They're a LAN center. You come test out their computers or VR. That's the big thing. It's fun, VR. So
you guys got some new games for the VR?
Yeah, we actually Monster Hunter just dropped on it this week. So
what?
We have Monster Hunter in VR right now.
Monster Hunter World?
I think so. I seen it last night when I was on there. I haven't been.
Those monsters look intense, and to see them in VR, that would be nuts.
I don't know. There's another one on there that it looks like a samurai game. We do have another Beat Saber tournament coming up, the 25th. It's also going to be the same day as our monthly Smash tournament. So those tournaments will go run back to back that day. And then also, rumor has it we're going to be featured on Wednesday's Child on KSL in the very near future. I think we're scheduled the 27th for them to come in and record that. So.
Oh, cool.
So yeah.
That'll be nice.
So lots of stuff happening down here at Ascendant. So come and check it out.
Yep, there's their website. It's got the address and everything on there as well.
Prices are all on there. We do have something new. So we have what we're calling a punch cart. So if you come in and get a monthly pass from us on a normal basis, it runs out after 30 days. That means if you don't come in like 10 of those 30 days, you automatically lose those hours. Our punch pass is good for 30 days, and it's only active when you come in. So every day you come in, we give you a day pass that day. You can use it all day long and then leave. And if you only come in 3 times in a month, you still have the rest of those. So
Lone Star says, Arrustar, you gotta do Beat Saber in your armor. Are you trying to kill me? Like, it's already bad enough doing LARP. But
Only the super slow songs on easy.
Yeah, there you go. I've never actually played Beat Saber. I don't know.
a lot like Guitar Hero.
I know, and I love Guitar Hero, but like for some reason Beat Saber just doesn't
Well, it's because it's this. It's not just
I don't know.
Hey, it's not hand-eye coordination. It's like full body. Like you have to dip out of the way. And
yeah, and I can't duck in this armor, like literally.
That's why I said only the slow songs on easy, so you see everything coming.
Evan says through fire and flames for Arrustar. No, that is so crazy that when Flopatron did it, it actually made their machine smoke.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oof.
You had to go watch it. It was so intense that their machine started smoking and they had to stop. And then they started up again. It was crazy. Do it. Well, maybe. Maybe I'll do it. We'll have to see. Maybe I'll do it for one of my Thursday streams or something. We'll have to work something out.
Yeah,
so
do that, or
full cape and everything.
I guess so.
we could do it as a YouTube special.
Yeah.
Record just and post on YouTube.
So
We'll be up on Wednesday morning on both the podcasts.
Oh yeah, podcast and YouTube video will be up Wednesday morning, so get listening on that.
Goes out on social
Podcast is available on I think everything now. We're on Google,
Spotify, Google, Apple.
Yep.
Anchor is our main one.
There's a bunch of other side ones that I'm not familiar with, but we're on there now. We're on like 8 or 9 different platforms.
Just all the podcasting channels.
So
easy to find.
Yeah, easy to find. Just look us up on Anchor, or even look us up. Like I went to iTunes and just looked up LARP Lounge, and it was there.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, if you know anybody who's interested in getting into LARP, or hear anybody talking about it or anything, it's the stuff we go over at LARP Lounge has been fantastic. I know it's brought in a few people who have had fantastic questions. Oh yeah.
Oh, wow, that makes me happy. I'm glad it's doing what I wanted for it to do. The final thing I want to talk about for those that are here now and those that might listen on later, I know some of the people from Mythic listen on later. I need a new co-host. So my last co-host, due to life reasons, is busy. She's not going to be able to make it anymore. So it's going to be some hard shoes to fill, but I would like a co-host. So yeah, and then Lone Star will be streaming Pokemon tonight.
Nevitz will be streaming later too.
Nevitz, what are you going to be streaming? Are you going to be streaming more Code Vein? You've been streaming that a lot lately.
So I was thinking about getting on later too.
Yeah, you going to do Borderlands more?
Yeah. Cool. You got to finish that up because I just got Outer Worlds.
Proceed with caution. So.
Yep, proceed with caution.
Shoot out all of our friends.
Yep, Code Vein. So cool. So yeah, catch everybody else later on too. But yeah, if you're interested to be my co-host, come talk to me.
I don't know if I'll have the time for it.
I know,
but as interesting as it would be, I don't know if I have the time.
So waifu souls, Boji. Yeah, so that's what he calls it, waifu soul. Code Vein. It's like Dark Souls, but it's anime drawn, like very
like cell shaded anime.
Not cell shaded, but very anime. Boji's got to be the co-host.
But yeah, I mean, it would make sense.
Yeah, the two brothers doing it.
Smash Brother.
Smash Brother LARP Lounge, yeah. So I was going to talk to him about it, see if he was interested. So, but anybody else, if you're interested too, come talk to me. So, other than that, I think that's the end of it. Thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in. Great season opener. I appreciate everyone being here.
Yep. Thanks for coming out, guys.
Have a great weekend.
Listen to the LARP Lounge live on Sundays at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time at twitch.tv/Arrustar. That's twitch.tv/ARRUSTAR.